People of the world, welcome back to Send It Rising. It is a pleasure to have you here. You'll know, based on what I'm about to say, what kind of episode this one's going to be. I don't believe in coincidences. It's easy to see the world as a random set of occurrences, but the people that enter into our lives are not here randomly. There are lessons to be learned from them, and we're going to learn many lessons today. But before we get into all of that, I was driving my kids to school, and my daughter was a little upset this morning because we had put a mermaid onto the birthday invitation when the theme of her ninth birthday is Avatar. And so there's a branding problem. She did not appreciate that because, as a 9-year-old girl, there is very little there are very little paths to revenue in the form of gifts. And so when you have a brand mismatch, it's very upsetting. And so should the invitation have been an Avatar invitation? Yes, she has a great point. Now people are going to be expecting mermaids. And is it going to have the same resonance as an Avatar invitation? Probably not. And it just goes to show that marketing starts very young. We're talking about return on investment in the form of gifts. Our guest today is an absolute rock star. Over $1 million a year in paid spend management. Just think about that for a second. That's a lot of cheddar flowing through an organization that does a lot more than just paid ad spend management. We're talking WordPress, web design, and everything you would expect from an expert digital marketing specialist. He's got all sorts of insights that backstage he shared with me. I'm excited to talk to him. Ladies and gentlemen, the founder of Dominate, the one, the only, Gary Geiman.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you having me on. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. So backstage, we were chatting a little bit about when you were telemarketing for lawn care in your youth.
Yeah.
So do you feel like the telemarketing that you used to do for lawn care really built the foundation for a successful digital marketing agency later in life?
Taught me how to sell for sure. I was 19 when I first started in that role. And quite funny, I'm in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, so we have snow a lot. Not as much as Northern, but we do have snow. I started in that role, and the first day that I got on the phone was like 3 days in, and it snowed that day. And they had us calling customers from the previous year that had canceled. So there was snow on the ground. I'm calling about lawn care, and I'm calling people that were really irritated with the company. And I remember one of my first phone calls was with a gentleman who, elderly, stay at home, retired guy who was very fond and proud of his yard, and also confused as to why I was calling him when there was snow on the ground. And he iterated that by the question that he asked me, do you know it's snowing today? Yes, I do. But, that taught me how to find people's pain and then how to provide a solution to that pain to be able to convert that into dollars for their company or my company. And being a business owner, that piece, as you can attest, is the most important piece of business ownership, because if you can't find pain, turn pain into dollars, you really don't have a business. So telemarketing was absolutely the launching ramp for my entrepreneur career. I think probably was the precursor to digital marketing in some cases, but it definitely put me on the path of lead generation and sales.
I feel like our experiences that don't seem very profound at the time, or at least in my experience, like working at Orange Julius, they called me a blend tender, doesn't really seem like the kind of moment in life that sets the foundation, but it clearly does. Mm-hmm. And so for the entrepreneurs out there, give them a sense of where Dominate's at now in terms of your size, what you've grown to, and how you got there.
Yeah, so we've been in business since November 2017. probably loosely since then. And then early or mid 2018 is where the structure became official, and you're with the state and all that stuff, right? We started out, I owned an exterior cleaning company and began to get noticed in that industry through Facebook groups. And we were scaling pretty quickly. And a lot of companies, a lot of owners were watching us, and they were reaching out to us. How are you doing it? And, we were doing it through a couple of things. One being search, both paid and organic, Google Maps. And then I utilized email marketing a ton to connect with commercial property managers and property owners. And those pieces of it, everybody wanted to know, like, what's the silver bullet? What's the magic bullet? And really the secret was we just did stuff consistently and continuously. And which, some businesses, when you're starting out, like, the hardest thing to do is stay consistent with your marketing budget. The hardest thing to do is stay consistent with marketing in general, especially if you have a limited staff. And we took that interest, and that's what we turned it into Dominate Partners. So we're heavy in the home service space, Christmas light installers, exterior cleaning, but also like junk removal, landscapers, HVAC and roofing. Those are the types of clients that we work with. And we went from me and another individual when we first started to now I have to do the math to count how many people, because it's more than two hands, but I think we're sitting at 14 employees currently. And that is all because of finding a problem that people faced as business owners in the home service space, and then providing them with solutions that help them, number one, develop and generate leads and customers, but two, develop consistency. And so, like, what sets us apart typically from other agencies in our space is we really focus on the automation and the innovation piece. Like, running Google Ads, everybody can run Google Ads. Posting to social media, there's multiple companies that can do that. Running email campaigns, the list goes on and on and on. But how do you automate some of those processes? And they are good, not bad. How do you use innovation to make things better? And so we really strive on those two pieces. I always say, if you can automate and innovate, you can dominate, right? And so we really focus on those two foundational pieces for our clients to make things easy for them, to be consistent for them, and to constantly be solving their problems. And in doing that, we've grown Dominate Partners to where we're at. We handle marketing for about 80 or so clients, and at this point we're in our growth stage. We're trying to get to a number with our company, and doing that through the stuff that we help others do: lead generation, sales automation, follow up, and that list goes on and on. So that's who we are, that's what we do, and hopefully that gives you enough understanding of me and our company.
Automation is a funny word to me, because it brings up in my head the robots that will eventually kill us all. And so when you're talking about automation for, say, Google Ads, what the heck does that look like?
Well, automation related to Google Ads is more about your monitoring capabilities there. So there are tools available that help you understand interaction that prospects have with ads, and how that relates to conversion. A lot of automation built into follow-up sequences is more really what we focus on than the front end really of marketing, because follow-up is what takes someone from a prospect to a customer. That's really the sales process, is the follow-up piece. And so creating touch points with direct mail, email, SMS, all of those things through their CRM and through their platforms is really where we focus automation at. But like on the front end, it's more about monitoring, understanding habits, and utilizing that information to make the front end piece better.
So are you incorporating SMS? Did I hear that correctly? Are you working with text at all in your marketing?
On the follow-up side of it, yes.
So help me understand that. So in home services, I feel like that is particularly beneficial.
Hmm.
Maybe not so much for some other industries. Like if I
Yeah.
go to, sometimes I get a text from Pizza Hut and they're like, "You want Pizza Hut now? We know because of our algorithm." I'm like, "Leave me alone, the Hut. I just want to get Chipotle right now." But I do
Yeah.
receive texts from, say, restaurants, but it's much different. If a plumber's coming, I want the plumber to come to my house. I want to know who's coming, when they're coming. The text alerts are really beneficial to me. It makes
Yeah.
me feel better about the process, but that's all
Right.
very operational. You're,
Yeah.
you're talking about it in a marketing perspective. So
Right.
help me understand a marketing text. Or is it what I just mentioned? It's just better operations.
Well, I mean, I think definitely better operations, but you can use marketing text in ways like somebody visits the website and they complete information, just an acknowledgement that you've received the information. Like that's kind of like the first touch point. That's how we like to use text, and it helps you to understand if that person wants to be communicated with text or not, because they all say, reply stop, and the stops are going to take them out. Some people like to be communicated via email, some like the phone. And so we try to have different ways for there to be, it's hard to automate a phone call from a client, but you can automate email, you can automate text, and really starting with the acknowledgement, and then once the quote is sent, utilizing it to, hey, did you receive the quote? We have openings on the schedule for this day or next day. Is there one that works for you better? And so, utilizing text and email kind of intermittently, depending upon where they're at in the process and how they decided that they want you to communicate to them, is definitely in my opinion, is the way to utilize them. Not big on just cold SMS. I feel like there's a lot of legalities related to that, but somebody comes to the website, they request information, use it to acknowledge, and then you send a quote, use it to make sure they received it, use it to try to convert that into a client, is how we try to use text and both email in that follow-up process. But you're absolutely right. Like, text in the operational piece is critical. And like, if you don't have a CRM that utilizes it and you're in the home service space or even just the service space, like, I would look into that, because you're missing the boat on, number one, just a touch, and having that touch with that customer helps to solidify the service / the appointment, but it also gives you another way to follow up and market to them down the road.
I just had a really wacky idea that I want to run past you, and I want you to tell me on a scale of 1 to 10 how dumb you think it is. So, quoting. I feel like I don't feel like this. It's scientifically been shown in the literature that there's a sense of indebtedness when people do something for us. We feel like we want to return the favor, unless you're a psychopath, right? So most people,
Yeah.
like if I walk up to you and I hand you a flower you don't even want, and you take it, it sets off a chemical reaction in your brain that goes, "Oh, damn it, I owe him a flower's worth of something," right?
Yeah, yeah,
And so the Hare Krishnas used to do this at airports all the time. They'd be like, "Take a flower." You're like, "Oh, thanks," and then they would talk to you about Hinduism for half an hour.
mm-hmm.
And so the sense of indebtedness is a real psychological phenomenon,
Mm-hmm.
and quoting is exactly that. So if I'm going to quote you, it's like you kind of feel bad. You may not go with them, but there's that sense of like, oh, they put the quote together, and it's like it doesn't feel great to receive quotes. Like, oh, I'm getting all these quotes. I feel wonderful about it. Wasting all these people's time that I'm
Right.
not going to hire. Most people don't feel good about that.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to think of whether or not I could set up some sort of technology that allows for anonymous quoting. Right? So the person comes in and the problem is you still have to get the quote to them somehow. How do you do that? So you could they could ask for like, look here, do this, do that, and then you could leave that information, the quote, somewhere that they could go pick it up from, almost like if there was
Mm-hmm.
a page on the website that was like, someone could say, okay, I would like a quote for this, 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 and that. And then you could like leave a link on the site that they could then click on. So you would never know who they are. You have no information about who this person is. You don't know, but
Yeah.
they would like a quote and you give them a quote. I wonder if that would take away that feeling that people get about not wanting to waste. Because as people, like a digital marketing, I would create quotes, man, I would create
Yeah.
1,000 quotes a day if I could.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if I could spend my time doing that, but
Right.
people feel bad. So scale of 1 to 10, where's it at?
So the question is, would that create the same type of indebtedness, right? Is that what you're
No, it
saying?
wouldn't. No, it wouldn't.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it wouldn't, right?
no.
But because it would almost be like having a pricing link on your website. So if you could create something that is, I mean, the anonymity is what takes that away. Like if you could make it personalized, I think it could, but and also I think it comes down to the delivery method, right? So like you walk into a store, and if they have beacons set up, like they can put notifications on your phone with the beacon marketing.
Okay.
I don't know. Does that feel personal? I guess. Somebody goes to your website and then they see a Facebook ad because of the tracking cookies,
Right.
and hey,
Right.
you could almost trying to think if you could personalize that Facebook ad at all to them. That would be tough. Yeah, like I don't think it's. First of all, I don't think it's a dumb idea. It would be trying to figure out how to get it as personal as possible with the fact that you don't know anything about them.
Well, yeah, it's like if there was a way, it's almost like if you could mask their identity. So if they say they came to like, right, and there was a page, home of the anonymous quote, right, and this is the general idea. So like you just provide us some information, and so they say this is my URL, but we don't know who it is. We don't know who we're talking to. It's just random. Who knows? And so like here's the URL. Here's kind of what we want. Put the quote here. And so they go through that whole method. They go through that whole rigmarole. You provide the quote, but you just know that you provided it to that company. You don't know who you were talking to that entire time. I wonder if that would provide any sort of relief to the people, so they feel like a sense of sort of like, yeah, I don't necessarily want to, because one of the biggest things in dating, I was recently dating not too long ago, is people really hate rejecting other people. They don't like it, right? Men don't like it. Women don't like it. They avoid it. And so have you heard of the term ghosting?
Yes.
Yeah. So ghosting happens all the time in sales, right?
Yeah.
And so, but by me knowing who you are, you've now ghosted me. But if I never knew who you were in the first place, I can't ghost you.
Yeah. Wow. So that would take away that indebtedness, right? But does it create any type of does it create anything on their part to want to use you because you did that? Like that,
I just want to just give me the stupid price, because I think that from the buyer's perspective, they're always just like, oh, do not make me sit in a meeting with you where you can tell me how great you are and how great your organization is. All that information is readily online. I'll look at your Google reviews. I already judged you. The reason I'm talking to you right now is because I need you to finally spit out the stupid number that I've been waiting for a month. Can you just tell me the stupid number so I can judge you on price? Or how many hoops do I need to jump through before you finally give me that number? I feel is what most of our clients feel like. And from our perspective, like, come on, man, we can't just give you a number. I don't know what you want. You have to talk to me. Like, what do you want from us? Like, there's a million different things I need. But I think when that process begins, the clients begin to feel indebted and more indebted and more indebted. And then they feel worse and worse and worse when they have to finally say no. And I think that stops them from giving more information. Like, we're looking at this sort of Google ads, these types of Facebook ads, maybe some website this, maybe some of that. But I'm going to have to tell you no after you do all this research and you dive in and you do all that. Like, that's uncomfortable. I would just rather not do it at all.
Yeah. I mean, that loses the whole point of, like, getting information from them, too, to be able to follow up and continue the communication, which is what you're talking about. Like, the customer, they want to be as non-committal as possible. Like, they don't want to marry you. I just want to find out. I want to find out, like, how you are, but I don't want to marry you. And I think too, though, that relates back to business owners getting really like, they take a date to the bar and they're planning their wedding. Like, they do that too much. Yeah. There's that know, like, trust. Like, you have to build that. And you were talking about it already. Like, you have to have places Google reviews, outlets where you've been reviewed, and to help to build that. Okay, I know who they are, and you've done some awareness building and things like that, so they can get to that liking stage to actually want the quote. And we're trying. I think sometimes business owners get stuck in the, okay, I got this prospect. How can I lock them in for 2 years right now, and they still don't even know who you are or know what you do completely. And you have to spend time, asking questions and finding out about what it is that they really need. Like, you take that date to the bar, and they tell you, well, I don't drink. Oh, okay. I won the date of the year, right? It's the same thing with your customers. Like, try to sell them a solution, and maybe that's not the solution they need, but they need something similar. You're just trying to shove things down their throat. And like, if you realize, okay, a customer is listening to that radio station that everybody listens to, what's in it for me? So what is it that they need? And it's not your features and benefits. It's not your pretty website. It's not your trucks. It's not your your office. Like, they're not going to hire you because of that. And don't say, oh, because we provide great service, because every company in the world is going to provide great service, right? So what is it that you can do for them that they need in order to solve the problem? And I think that goes back to like the quoting piece that you're talking about. I'm the same way. Like, if I need something done around the house, I loathe calling someone and saying, yeah, I need a quote, because is your spouse going to be available too? Because we can't trust you,
yes.
Right? I hate that stuff.
End my misery. End it now.
Like, we aren't gonna be able to be friends. So don't even come to our house. Like, forget it. But you have to like start with just finding out like what the problem is. We had a recent storm here. It ripped siding off of our house, and like, I would call people, and like, they're wanting to sell me a new roof. Like, we just had a roof put on 2 years ago. Like, if I need a new roof, that's going to be an issue. But like, it's not the roof, and that's all they wanted to focus on, probably because they made more money doing that. And I even reached out to some of my clients. I'm like, what is this that is happening right now? And they said, well, it's money. Like, they're chasing the money, and instead of, they should have been worrying about my problem and trying to solve that problem, because I'm a ready buyer. And I think when you get into that prospect conversation, it's like, when you're a little kid and you get your first pet, like, you want to pet it and hold it and squeeze it, and it never leaves your side. Well, that prospect, they're kind of like that. That's how we treat that prospect, especially if we're desperate to close and we need cash for something. Like, people feel that. So you have to get really steadied in your approach. This is why I tell people always to have scripts. It doesn't mean you got to read it, but you follow the process. And if you follow that process and you help people get to know you, like you, trust you, they're going to be more willing to, at some point, buy from you. And instead of, like Kellen's saying, like, making them indebted, like, make them feel comfortable.
You know what? I love conversations with colleagues, and I consider you my colleague, because there's no substitute for it. Because what I just came up with, just listening and percolating, and and throwing a crazy idea out there, because that's just kind of how my mind works. One day quote. So I'm gonna start pitching the one day quote. Right? I was thinking instant quote, but I can't do instant because it's not instant. But it's I'm gonna create a page on the website, and it's just gonna be email address, URL. That's it. Right? Yeah. You put in your email address, you put in a URL. That's all I don't know your name. I don't know, maybe it's in the email, but I know almost nothing about you. Right. And I will make a video where I will go in and I will do the whole song and dance. And like, I will give you a full quote with price for what we think is an appropriate next step for you or your business. Home of the one day quote, right? Yeah. Come around. Cause ultimately I think people like quotes. I do. I think they get them and they go, ooh, cause you get to be the king or queen in that moment, right? You're like, my subjects, they come to me and they wish to do work and I will pay them. Like, it sets up that sort of, dominance hierarchy of, look how great I am,
Yeah.
Plus, I bet there's a lot of people that are just interested in a quote, wondering like, I wonder for my entrepreneurial endeavor if I could ever afford an agency like this.
Yeah.
And they're going in and they don't want to deal with, because I read a Harvard study, this was fascinating, that talked about how the role of salespeople has diminished greatly in the modern review environment, because people don't need you to sell them on trusting, because they're earning that trust from the online reviews and what they're seeing online. There's all
Yeah.
of this amazing trust building stuff that, you know, if you see, but if you're 3.2 stars with 9 1-star reviews and they're legitimate and you didn't respond to them, the people aren't going to go with you anyway. So they've
Yeah.
read your reviews, they've looked at your stuff, they trust you, and then when they're sitting down, they want what Gary's describing, which is pain point. Can you solve my pain point? Yes or no? It's already there. It's like the trust has already been established. Now it's, can I trust you to actually solve this problem? So I'm going to try it. I'm going to give it a shot, see if that works. And then, have you done any reels or short form video?
I do reels a lot.
Do you? Talk to me about your reels.
So I love reels, and I'm the anti business owner. What every business owner thinks their reels are supposed to be about. I look at social media as being that tool that gets people to know who I am, right? Mm-hmm. So I definitely talk about my business at times on social media, but you're going to find out more about me personally than you are probably about my business, because I want you to get to know me and think, I could do business with that guy, right? It's the exact opposite of what I was talking about, Kellen, and trying to scale, because that's definitely not scalable, but that's how I handle my reels. So like reels, I did a whole series though on reels about leadership, soft skills and leadership. And they were 30, 45 seconds about, you know, just soft skills. One of them being, you know, effort. Another one being energy. You know, people don't think about those types of skills related to leadership, but if you walk in and your office staff or your crew or whoever it is that reports to you and you're high energy, it's hard not to be high energy. If you come in and you rolled out a bed on the wrong side of the bed and you fought with your spouse and maybe kicked the dog or whatever, and then you came into work, like people are going to fall into that same type of mode, or they're not going to want to deal with you, right? So like being high energy. And so I talk about like things like that, but you'll also see me out on the lake maybe. One of my favorite reels is, so there's a lake nearby that we go to every weekend, and we were at a marina and somebody flew into their house on a helicopter. So I did this reel, 45 seconds, and I think I've had like 10,000 views on it. Unfortunately I used the R. Kelly song, I Believe I Can Fly, but I really couldn't think of anything else, so that's what I put up there. But it's got 10,000 views. And people take that and then they go back to my profile and they see, okay, what else is going on? And so I kind of use those reels as a look into. And then, oh yeah, when you go to my profile, oh, he owns this or he does this, and gets them to know me. And that's really my whole focus with Reels. So it's a mix of personal, it's a mix of related to being a business owner, sometimes the pain. I mean, I'll be the first one to tell you, I've had struggles, have struggles, I will have struggles. Like, it's not all unicorns and roses every day, but it's how you navigate it and how you persevere. So, like, I'll use Reels to do that. Every once in a while, we'll throw in my granddaughter. Like, that was the greatest gift ever, because now I got a little baby who we can put on Reels, and like, that is awesome. So,
babies and puppies.
Right,
oh, Gary,
exactly.
I love it. I'm for it. We could talk all day. 10:59. We're going to wrap up the show here. YouTube.com/Send It Rising is a great place to check the lives. You may have noticed, if you've been to youtube.com/Send It Rising recently, that some of the shorts are really starting to take off. We're really starting to get some legitimate traction. Subscribers are coming through, and that's taken almost a year and a half, 2 years. So if you're in the Reels short form video space, keep it going. Keep going, man. Those numbers, it takes a while, but you'll get better at it, and the content will get better, and the folks will really start to jive with it. And then if you're anything like me, people will start to say, oh yeah, I've seen your videos. Oh, I watch your videos every day. And then you slowly develop this community. It just takes longer than your maximum patience. So you have to increase your patience. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, whatever your maximum, like, I'm over it limit is, that has to expand, because you'll reach it. You'll hit it. You'll get bored. You're like, I don't want to do this anymore. It'll be 115 degrees in Vegas, and you don't want to go outside because I do longboarding videos. And you just got 10% more patience. 10% more patience. If you didn't get a nugget of wisdom from Gary Geiman today, that's on you, right? Because he was dropping nuggets left and right. That's something you have to reflect on, listener, because at the end of the day, these people that are bouncing around, the echoes from their diaphragm, the pressure, the air pressure that becomes sound that hits your ears, they're gems. And so I know you can do it, entrepreneur. You've got it in you. I believe in you. Gary, I want to make sure you have one final opportunity to let folks know how to reach you if they want to reach you. Go ahead, Gary.
Sure. Two best ways. One is our website, SALVONOW, salvonow.com. Salvo is a French and German term that means fire all your guns at once. And you can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/Gary Geiman. And if you have a question, want to find out more information, hit me up, either one of those, and I'll be more than happy to spend some time talking with you.
Thanks, Gary. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man.